Are you comfortable? This couch is not the most comfortable. I'm telling you that.
You know what? I'm actually pretty good. I'm mostly happy. Like we're here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, when you messaged me, I was like, whoa, he's coming from Toronto, and like he doesn't know where the fuck I live, but I live in bumfuck Idaho.
I love that you live right beside a winery and then there's a cemetery. And I'm just like, that
Super
is so,
quiet.
Yeah, like legit.
They don't complain. No one bothers me. I get to work on my cars and dirt bikes, and like no one calls the cops.
That's so fun.
And I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, from the city, like I get that. It's not.
It's not ideal.
No. And especially with like the way the houses are laid out, it's just you're sandwiched into these properties.
Yeah.
And it's like make believe.
Yeah, we've always said we're not like, my wife and I are definitely not city folks at all. We need land. I got toys. I want to have big campfires. Like I have needs. I have like life needs.
All right. Well, off the top, for the people that don't know, we are at Rob's house. He invited us. We're doing things differently today. We're not in a studio. He's been nice enough to have me come to him because he's like, I'm not driving to Toronto. If you caught that beginning bit. But personally, I'm excited for this one because I just feel like, as we were talking about before we started, like you're like an underrated mainstay of the creator community. Underrated, not out of like disrespect.
No, that's cool, man.
Just because like you're a person where you're like, when you're in the industry, you know, versus someone of like Alan Palander, like if you love travel, you'll follow his travel, but you have no idea like what he actually does.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm just kind of like, as an industry person, like I just feel like this was a conversation that I wanted to have. I
appreciate it, man. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being here as well. Like I said, when you were like, yo, I'm coming from wherever, I'm like, it's gonna be a good hour drive, and like we'll get set up, but like hospitality, whatever you need.
Love it.
You're here. I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, off the top then, the way we like to start off these podcasts for just general lay of the land is introducing who you are and what you do in one simple sentence. Okay. And generally, if I could add on a piece, who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Ooh, you just added that little bit in that I'm not ready for.
Gotta shake it up a little bit.
Yeah. So my name is Rob Anzit from St. Catharines, Ontario. I help brands and photographers make money online. And why I do it, I just feel like it's been embedded in my life. And it really, the whole creative and business thing just ties in so nicely to like my passion and like how my ADHD and my brain works, that it like supports it in a great way. So it just kind of, it's like where I'm meant to be.
Okay.
I feel like there's no other place for me.
Has that always been the case though?
The business, yes. Creativity, no.
Interesting.
Business from a young age, buying and selling dirt bikes and like all toys. Like I would actually, no, I'm going to retract that statement. I'm going to say yes, because I feel like even at a young age, I would buy something, fix it up, take cool pictures of it so I know it'd sell, and then post it, and it would sell quicker because I thought in my head that photos mattered and the end product would sell quicker. When I was always buying things like dirt bikes or stuff, I always saw the worst images. You know that now from like any older person on Facebook take the worst photos, or their album, like they drop like some weird image that's just like, why is this in here? It doesn't sell.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, you probably at a young age, I would say that I would just have that creativity to think that way and also sell that way.
Did you have any self-expression with that though? Like as you were doing it, or was it strictly like, I'm taking this photo to get attention to then move product? Or was it like, you know what, like maybe this time I'm gonna like make a lifestyle editorial set with this just to like...
Young Rob? Probably not. No, it was always
strictly about moving product.
Moving product to get to my end goal would be like, I want a car, so I need to sell all these lawnmowers. I remember it was such a weird thing. I remember my dad was like, where are you going? I was like, I got $400. I forget what age it was. And I found a lawnmower down the street, bought it, drove it. I rode it back home, painted it, took pictures, and sold it so I could buy my car. Wow. Like that's how my like perception was as a young age, was always, how do I get to the next thing if I don't work? How do I get to the next thing if I can buy and sell and use the money that I have to do it? It's kind of like the penny theory of like shifting or trading a penny up to a house.
Yeah.
Pretty much how I started my life.
Wow, that's so interesting. So, first camera then. So
point and shoot, Canon, Pro Shot, like 5 megapixels.
At like
I still
13
have
years
it.
old. You still have it?
Yeah.
Wow.
It just broke last week.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I got it when I was like 7.
How did that feel?
Awful.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
technology.
Yeah, Jesus.
I think I overused it more at this age than I did when I was younger. So I don't feel bad for the camera.
That's how it goes, right? That's so funny. So all right, so that's your first camera. At 7 years old, are you experimenting with compositions, or are you just kind of like point blank shooting mindlessly? Like, did you have a curiosity with cameras, or was it like, I've got this thing, I might as well use it? Like,
My brain doesn't go back that far,
you
bro.
don't think so? Well, because
I think it was more of like fitting the subject in the photo.
Okay.
So if I was taking pictures of like my buddy BMXing and he was doing a jump, I would think about where he would be and make sure he was like in the center. My theory was always center, because a point and shoot, you don't have an eye in it, and it's just showing you like a screen.
Right.
So you're just like, I hope I get this. Oh, I hope I get this. And like, I was using some of the effects in the camera.
That's
like,
funny as hell.
Like, you know how like some of those things of like all black and white except for the subjects and like red or something.
Yeah. That was it. That's like Instagram 2012, like right when it
Probably
came
way
out.
before that.
Yeah, no, I know, but
before Instagram even came out. That was cool. Okay, that was cool back.
It's
in
funny
the day.
too, because I still see it and I kind of look at it and I'm like, we all thought this was such a cool thing.
Cringe.
And now it's like
Cringe.
Yeah, that's funny.
I know where you'll start if you're taking those photos. I was like,
Yeah, right.
you'll realize how quickly that's a cringe.
It'll just go all the way full circle at some point. So okay, maybe I'm reaching with this, but my thing is like, so I had a friend in high school who they would go scootering. So I have this is like a bigger thing now.
No, it's
so
all right.
I had a
Go
friend who he was one of the first people that would like rooftop in Toronto, like one of like the originals,
Like the shoe photos on the
yeah,
rooftop
like those
thing?
classic,
Okay, cool,
like
cool.
you know, top of the not the one hotel. The one with the helipad and the stilts and.
You're talking different language. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing
fair.
out in the farmland is.
Like, we don't have more.
We're
than
like, wow, that's
10
crazy. That
stories.
kid is crazy. Like, none of us have that high of a building out here.
That's funny. But so he was one of those guys, and he had another friend who he would always take with him.
Okay.
And they used to scooter as well. And like at the time, we would be like, why are they like taking pictures of them scootering and going on rooftops? Like, what's up with that? To this day, like now, because like if I was scootering like with my friends, like doing those tricks, I'd be like, I'm gonna take photos for my friends, and like it's for memories. Was there any different reason for you for wanting to just get your boys like
photo?
BMXing or like?
It's a great question. I think.
Did you even challenge yourself with it? Like, did you even like take the shot, reflect on it, and be like, how do I do that differently next time? Or was it mostly just?
I think it started off with me just wanting to remember good times.
Okay.
Which is super cool because I like do that now. It's just like, people are like, why bring your camera? Like, you're not working. I was like, I just want something to look back on to be like, I remember that moment. And I feel like there's not enough of those things. Like in my office, all the photos in here are all mine. Just because, and probably they're all free photo shoots because they were moments for me to live.
Nice.
And like when I look at that, I'm like, oh, I remember that day. Oh, that was sick. Oh, that dirt bike thing. It was just like, those are things that I want to remember. So back then it was just like, I'm going to bring my camera out to like an event, to like a band show. I remember it was like the Ill Scarlet. I don't know if
I know
like,
Scarlet. Yeah.
I went out and shot them like at a concert and they used the photos for whatever. But I was like, dude, that was like a big thing for me being like, oh, I'm at Ill Scarlet. I'm going to go shoot these guys because I want to remember that moment.
Yeah.
So I think as I look at like future tense of like where technology will go and stuff, I think that whole nostalgic of like wanting to do it for yourself will be totally lost in my perspective.
That's interesting. So how much do you still battle with that now?
I still print almost all of my like stuff now.
Really?
Yeah.
Where do you keep it?
That's
such a...
In a closet, in a book. Like even my Iceland trip, like my wife and I are like, after our photos are done, we're printing it. Like I have a printer in that corner of my room. It's a Canon printer. I'll print stuff just for myself, or I'll give them to people if I like have a moment with them to be like, they're gonna appreciate this. They're gonna look back at it and be like, I don't know what to do with this photo because it's so beautiful, or like I don't have a big enough frame, but like you can see the sentimental value of something tangible in their hand, that they're just like, this was like deep. And that to me will never go away. Like that experience of being like, here's a beautiful photo of like Brock stand there and do that photo, or like that point and shoot photo I have of you. Like one day you'll get it and be like, oh, Rob, this is an awful photo, but I love it for that memory of like when we chatted on that boat. Like that's the kind of thing that brings me back to why I do what I do. It's just always in me to like make people happy, or my clients happy, or like meeting the right people and connecting with them. It just brings me so much joy, and that's something that I live for.
So because we talked about this before, obviously, like there's the two sides to the sort of creative industry, like the artists and then the more business minded creators. And you're going on this like business route, and obviously we're chatting about the fact that you're everybody kind of, once they start to get to know you, they're like business minded, whatever. And then you just come out the gate with this. Yeah. And I'm just like, where are you? You might be the middle. Like you're like right in the middle. And you're like, depending who you talk to, you're like ghosting. You're like,
well, that's too. It's also like my Gemini side. Let's be serious. I'm pretty Gemini to say that, but like I am full business because it drives my passion and my creativity. I think the things that I do creatively as well, I am focused on like what is the outcome in 5 years for my business, for the people I meet. Like if I'm doing a creative shoot, it's sometimes like I'm doing it for myself, but how can I leverage this in the next year?
Interesting.
How can I pitch that next brand that I didn't think I had a chance with, but now that I'm doing this passion project of mine that I find so much joy in, they'll look at it and be like, wow, this is some really good stuff. And I think those projects of passion have landed me the biggest clients.
Nice. Okay. Then my curiosity then, just kind of with the way you kind of phrase that too, is like, so most creatives will tell you that their creative passions or projects will be what, not necessarily like fuels their business, but it's like, if like I just was, I don't know if I want to go down this route, but like there's a lot of photographers that like get commoditized. So like the wedding, kind of the artistry of the wedding kind of like disappears after a while, or maybe you're a sports photographer and you know exactly where to stand on the pitch and you're just boom, 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 get the shots and leave. And for some people, they'll just totally lose the love for doing
everything.
That. Yeah,
really quickly.
So, but I don't know if it was a mistake that you said it, but you said the business side fuels the creative side to a certain extent, or
the creative fuels the business.
Does it work both ways for you sometimes, or where you'll get a business win and then you're like, I'm gonna go do a spec shoot and it's gonna be sick, or some days you're like, no, I'm just gonna.
I don't know. I feel like
it just thought about that.
Never thought of that. I think when I start meeting people or in general, or like you would know if you find someone new, creative, and you're like, oh, this work is so good. Oh, that's sick. Oh, I need to do this. Like, that just fuels me up to be like, oh, I want to try that. Like my last shoot was at a skate park with a girl, and I haven't shot with an off-camera strobe in so long. Cool. It's got to be like 5 years for me. So I'm like, shit, I'm going to be really rusty. These are going to be awful.
We talked about this on the boat too.
Yeah.
Did that give you the idea or no?
That gave me the idea.
That's sick.
Yeah. So like cool. I said, that conversation sparked so many things out of me. Workshops and off-camera flash and all these things where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go do it for myself. Because like, it's going to be fun as hell. Because I like testing my ability as well. As I've been in this space, photo and video for so long now.
Yeah.
That I feel like I'm rusty when it comes to certain things that I used to do in the past. And that off-camera, off-flash strobe, it came to me being like, oh, I want to try this. I haven't done it in so long. I'm going to see how rusty I am. I forgot settings. I forget like how powerful I needed the strobe to be when the person jumps out or something. Or like
TTL mode.
Yeah, I need pure manual mode and like all those things where like you don't appreciate what you know until that moment of like, wow, that like brings me back to like shooting that time where I was so good at doing that thing and now I don't do it enough.
That's interesting. Yeah, you have a point with that. I almost want to ask you, so I've asked a few people this and because I think there's like, wow, now I'm forgetting the meme. Did you see the new Spider-Man?
No,
you didn't see it. There's,
no.
Oh my God, why am I forgetting it? There's like, it's well, this is hilarious. I love this new movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it, like
I
highly
have not
recommend.
seen it.
Amazing. But it's called like a cadence event or like a chapter event.
Okay.
I'm gonna get roasted for not knowing the name of this, but it's like a critical event.
Don't roast them.
Don't roast them. It's like a critical event that like alters your future, basically.
Okay.
I think it's interesting because if you're, for most of my friends or people I know, if you're in university and you're going into like a typical white collar job, like sales or marketing, like generally, you don't really have that sort of moment where you're like, I knew I wanted to be a whatever. This more often than not, I fell into it. And
Yeah.
it just kind of ended up working out, and 5 years went by, and then I decided I'd keep doing it.
Yeah.
But for photographers and creatives in general, I know exactly the moment where I decided that I needed to put the hours in to actually pursue this. I'm curious if you had that moment, if you took a photo, looked at it, and were just like, oh, this is sick. I'm going to keep doing this. Or if maybe it was like a string of events or...
I think it was a string of events for sure. I think like landing my first marketing job and being in that for 4 years doing YouTube. Maybe the aha moment or the moment that it happened is when I landed or got the opportunity to work for Outdoorsy.
Okay.
They found me at a trade show with the RV dealership.
Epic.
And they were like, and I was shooting a DSLR in my right hand and my cell phone in my left to get Instagram stories for when it first launched. And I was like, cool, this needs to be like 30 seconds. This needs to be a minute. Can you talk about your brand really quick? And then I'll do a YouTube video and I'll do a short and like send you all these clips. And like, that was whatever, 5 years ago. And the owner of the business, it was a startup business. And she's like, you're really passionate about what you're doing. And I was like, I love it. Like, this is what I do day in, day out. Like, I do weddings, I do like all these things. And she's just like, I want to offer you a job to travel the US and shoot off-grid camping photos. I'm like, I remember she asked me that question. She's like, I want to chat with you tomorrow. I'll interview you and I'll give you an offer of what we're looking to like hire you. I remember that night I called my wife being like, I just want to let you know I got a weird offer that's like really serious and like they're willing to pay me to travel the US off-grid and set up off-grid camping photos as a full-time job. And then it came back to being like, I remember the interview and she's like, what do you want? And I was like, well, I think I was like making 40,000 for the RV dealership. So I'm looking for more.
Oh my God.
She's like, I think she said on the spot, like, we'll give you $60K to start and travel the US and shoot. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was kind of lost for words at a second. And I was just like, are you serious? She's like, I'll get the contract made up tonight. Just sign it and like, we'll move forward. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is a thing? Wait. So I had to remind myself like that moment of like, wait, so what I've been doing for the last 4 years and you just said you want to pay me to travel the world and take photos that I really enjoy and camping moments? Is that a thing? And she's like, we'll create like a name for you for the startup business. And I was like, Jen is an incredible business owner. Her business is wild. Jen Young, like I'll never forget the day of that moment. That's why we're chatting here right now about it. But I remember telling my wife, she's like, you never have given anyone your resume before. I was like, whoa. She's like, you just keep getting jobs left, right, and center just because of what you do and why you're passionate about what you do. I was like, whoa. So that moment, I think in general of meeting that and being able to like travel the US and shoot photos was like definitely an aha moment to be like, there's way more for this career. Like there's so much more for me to learn and grow with this business. What else is there after it?
Yeah, the funny thing for me is like where my head went is like, so I was thinking very like start humble beginning. Like I'm like, this story's amazing. Like this is great because I'm like because obviously like as we were chatting, like I came from like business. Like I was like, I'm working for McKinsey. I'm going to be a consultant. Like I'd given up everything, sports, music, creative in my entire life to go through university. And it was all about policy and like like serious, like heavy weighted stuff where there was just no room to explore your creativity. So I thought, right? I was like, I'm going to be.
This is what you need to do.
Exactly.
And do it well and you'll get paid.
Exactly.
And you're like,
now realizing I'm a human and you need to.
And you have creativity
Exactly.
boiling inside you that you're like, where do I escape this?
Yeah.
How do I use this
Why
power?
am I not happy exactly?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Oh, that factor is huge for so many people that they just don't.
it's a miss, right?
They don't talk to the right people. Like talking to you or me is just like, there's more.
Yeah, there's more out there.
You can make good money as well. And
It's
and
nuts.
people are like, whoa, that's a thing. But that's that moment. That's your moment of being like, there's more for me. There's that moment of like meeting the right person and being like, wow, this is a job.
Mm-hmm.
And like those little connections that you're just like, this world has so much to offer, but we're so blindsided by like what is actually out there because we are growing up and our parents said, you need to get this 9 to 5. You need benefits. You need all these things.
Exactly.
And it's just like, let me speak to someone else.
Yeah.
It's like getting a different doctor's opinion to be like, are you really sure? Because I'm going to go talk to that doctor and he's saying I'm fine and you're saying I'm like corrupt.
Yeah, I'm corrupt. You're gonna die.
Yeah, it's like I'll get another opinion, thank you.
But so it was so I guess why for me when I think about my like some sort of like starting moment was because my dad was a photographer like before he went on to do his career. So he was always kind of buying cameras as I was growing up because he would just take family photos as he did.
As like a hobby or as
as a hobby.
okay, cool.
He was a pro though, like going into university, he was like professional, like was going to be a photographer and then ended up deciding to go into engineering. Yeah, I know.
Totally different space.
Yeah, but he kept the camera with him throughout his life. And so when I was maybe 16, 17, he bought a Nikon D7100. And so this thing was sitting around for...
Pro series camera.
Yeah, it was like, that bottom intermediate level where it's just good enough. It shot RAW. It was one of the first cameras to have RAW capabilities. Right. I remember him sitting on like the deck like one day and he's just like, JPEG or RAW? Why would anybody want to shoot RAW?
Oh.
Like, it didn't even make sense back then though, right? Because you couldn't even edit yet. Like, it was like...
And your computers only were given 7 gigabytes of memory.
There was
no... It'd be maxing out
RAW
on one photo.
Didn't make sense, right? And anyway, like long story short, he gave me that camera and when the whole Instagram thing came out, I was living in Germany through periods from my undergrad, and I was like, I'm gonna take pictures while I'm traveling. So I was like, can I take your camera? And he's like, yeah, I'm not using it. Like, go for the D7100. So before I went to Germany one summer, it was like St. Patrick's Day, and before I was meeting up with my friends, I was walking around the city because I'm like, I'm gonna take photos and learn how to use this. And I set it up on a tripod in Brookfield Place, and I was like, I saw that photo that everybody takes where they stand in the middle of Brookfield Place and take the shot. And I'm like, I'm getting this photo before I meet up with my friends. And I sat there for like an hour trying to like put the focus properly, stand in the middle.
Manual or auto?
It was auto, but it wasn't working because
because
you had to look through the viewfinder. You didn't have the back screen. So I'm like laying on the floor, like putting my eye in it, like, and it was St. Patrick's Day, so there's no security to kick me out because you can't bring a tripod in there. Yeah. But I took the shot, went out with my friends. I'm like, I got it. I had to have gotten it. The next morning, I bought this photographer's presets because I had no idea how to edit. And I like slapped on this orange and teal gross look. It worked, but like now I look at it and I'm like, this would not fly. But the shot was sick. Like the shot was sick like at the time. And I'm just like, I can't believe I just did that. Like I didn't, because I literally didn't do anything creative for like 4 years of university. And I took a photo and was like, I didn't think I could do that. I know that sounds stupid.
And your capabilities of like...
Legitimately. Or like a vision that you had in your head. Like I had this photo, I knew I could do it, and then
this is what happened. Yeah.
And then I'm like, I have to see this through. Like
it's so fascinating that like...
It's wild.
That a piece of technology can like make you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's another thing. Like you have... so much power in your camera to make someone feel good, make yourself feel good, and like have a business off of a camera that has a battery and a memory card and a few lenses. And like you can do so much. You can change the world.
You actually could.
Yeah.
That's something I don't want to keep getting off on tangents, but I think photojournalism is fascinating. And I think that's like part of the street photography thing for me was always like, how do I document life as it happens?
Right.
And I never realized it in the moment. Like I was the only person. I mean, you weren't supposed to, but I did it anyway. Like walking around Toronto through COVID, I have photos of the city empty.
Empty.
And I didn't find value in it when I did it. And now I think back and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to matter in like 30 years. Where
Did you print it?
I haven't printed any of them. I know.
Print that stuff.
Just sitting on a hard drive.
Put it in a book of like that literally says COVID, whatever,
and just
2019. Like it is fascinating stuff. It's stuff that like if you don't print it, you'll never realize like where is it in what hard drive.
Yeah.
If the hard drive crashes, then what?
That's a fact. I've had a Lacey go down on me. I lost all of my photos. I've lost all of my photos from 2019 that I took. I went to New York. I lost all of them. If I didn't post it on Instagram, they're all gone. And I'm like, I regret that. Like I've let one hard drive go down and lessons learned.
I think I don't want to speak like too much more on this topic, but just in general, like I think my dad also embedded in my brain that like if you own these cars and you don't take photos of them and you don't print them, you'll never tell that story to your kids, to your nephews, to whoever. So for him, I remember him and my uncle would be sitting down and be like, we wish we had that photo of that 1969 Camaro RS because it's worth $110,000 and we traded it for a snowmobile. I know it sounds so weird, but every car I've ever owned, I have a printout, like maybe a 4x6, just in case of that moment of like, I want to remember that for years and that photo will last forever. That like if there's a time, how many cars you had? I've had so many cars. I can go through them in a big booklet, but I think that moment really would last. Like you should print your COVID pictures, you should print that picture you went traveling, you should print everything that matters to you 10 years down the line where you're like, remember that time? I do. I have a picture of it.
I'm so fascinated right now on your psychology. I'm like, I'm serious. Because this is something that I've been dealing with recently is I haven't really done much for myself. I'm very much somebody that like, when I'm needed, I'm there. And like, I love being needed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's just, I've never like thought to myself like, oh, this is what I wanted to do. And this sounds really weird, but even for my own Instagram presence, the photos that I was making largely were not actually what I wanted to make. I knew what I wanted to make. I very clearly have known about the photos I wanted to make. And now 3 years have gone by and I still haven't made those photos except for like a handful. And I'm just like, the ability to and what I like about you is like you're like, screw it, we're gonna go make it, like we're gonna go do it, like, and you have a vision and you know what you're trying to say. So I guess my curiosity is with your art then, how do you see it as a form of self-expression? Yeah, do you even see it that way, or like
I don't. I'm sure the outside sees it a different way.
Okay.
I don't see it as like a self-expression. I feel like, I don't know, that's a tough question. I feel like there's moments in my life where I'll express like certain things through pictures and use my voice for good. But everything else is like, I'm living through that moment of like what makes me happy and capturing it. I don't know if that makes sense. Like even like my injury journey, like
to me that makes sense because people don't even know what makes them happy, and that's where I was going with this.
Okay.
And that's why
the joy factor.
Yeah. And I'm just
I think it was 3 years ago. My wife and I met this guy in Mexico, and we really bonded. And the one question goes, "What brings you joy?" And I'm like, "Oof." He's like, "You should know it in like a couple seconds." I'm like, "No idea." Like what realistically makes me joy.
Yeah, I'm still there.
It's okay though, because I think what brought me to so much clarity of like just living my life of like how I want to live it, and if I don't live it now, it probably won't happen. Is like I kept having to write that down. Like what brings me joy? Oh, helping people. What brings me joy? Making people smile. Oh, what brings me joy? Like doing what's right for me in this moment, and like not saying no, like you're saying. Like it's good to say no. In this year, I've been or it's good to say yes, being a yes person. But this year alone, I've been saying a lot of no because I've been holding back for myself to be like, I want stuff for me.
Cool.
I've been saying yes to everyone and giving so much energy out that I'm like, what's for me? So now I'm like, even telling my wife, like, I'm gonna get a dirt bike, I'm gonna ride it. I'm gonna get back into skateboarding because I enjoyed it. I'm gonna start running because it's good for my health. And like taking time to be like, I'm gonna say no to you because I need to do it for me. So that joy factor for him was just like, man, I know what joy is now. It's like it's for me to enjoy my life to the max of like things that make me happy when I was a kid to relive now. I don't know if we're getting too like sidetracked.
No,
It's just, yeah.
This has been my new this not new, but I'm like layering on a thought process that I've kind of been following recently. Because the one you've probably heard it, and it was like the thing that you should base your career on. This isn't the exact quote, it's a paraphrase, but the idea is like the thing you should base your career on is what made you happy or what you enjoyed doing when you were a kid, right? And I thought back to when I was a kid, and I was like, I did karate. It was okay. I don't want to be a karate teacher, right? I did music.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those guys that could just sit down at the piano and
like play something.
Yeah, like hear a chord and be like,
I can play that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
My buddies are riffing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like, you guys are ridiculous.
Like I can play piano, but I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I could produce music, but it would take me twice as long as somebody else, right? And I'm just like, I didn't have anything that I'd want to look back to, and so it's kind of like. There is something though in whatever happened between 0 and 20 that can connect it all. Mm-hmm. And I just find like the exercise you're talking about is that in a different way, you know, maybe not so black and white of you played guitar so you should be in a rock band when you're 35.
Right.
That to me doesn't make sense, right? Because it's a thing, not a like a why or like a bigger sort of.
It takes time to establish that though. Like even like I'm 32, right? So like even tell my wife like I found my like style of clothing this year, which I didn't find like years ago. It's such a weird thing to think about and like tell her. She's like, okay. And I was like, but I found it and like it's sick and like I'm enjoying like the clothes I'm picking out and like what I'm doing right now. It's a weird year for me to be in 2023, and I think really. It hit me when I had an injury, to be completely honest with you, that I'm like, wow, like I would give so much to just be able to walk. I would give so much to be able to work and take cool photos of people. I'd give so much to ride a bike and like ride a dirt bike and like do something or drive. And like, I think after that whole experience in general, I was like, wow, I wasn't living like how I should have been living.
Wild.
Which is crazy, which sucked for me because I'm like, I had to go through a awful injury for me to realize I wasn't living like my full potential of my life and just going after like the shit that brings me joy, that I'm finding clients now to be like, oh, you're doing all this cool stuff. Can we get involved with it? I was like, whoa, like take 10 steps back here. These are things. It's that moment of meeting Jen to be like, this is a thing now. That why wasn't I doing this in the first place?
Interesting.
Like it's such a weird concept, but like you have so much growth as well, Brock. Like you have so much discovery in general to be like, who am I? What am I doing? It might not happen this year. It might not happen for the next 5 years, and that's okay. But like, everything you're doing now is going to matter in 10 years, right? That's how I look at everything I'm doing now. That we're like talking and communicating. I'm sure we're going to be doing something again next year to be like, hey, Brock, let's do that thing like we were thinking about or we were talking about. Like, let's bring it and execute it. Like, I think it happens.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think I think your injury, like saying that is like the pinnacle of like resilience in a way. Because you obviously, you tracked it on your social media.
Way too much, yeah.
but I mean, so the marketer in me was like, he could have done this differently.
Oh,
like,
100%.
Like, yeah.
100%. Like brand deals, sponsorships, 100%. Yeah.
I'm like, there's nothing wrong with what you did. Like, you did it very, like, I think
I got free shoes for the whole year.
Oh, wicked.
I got 10 pairs of shoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's all I need.
Yeah.
And my whole rehab was paid for free.
Wild. Okay. Well, so I mean,
so I did do it.
Yeah, you did do it. Like,
but to your
from the community
building thing, 100%. But I have like 30 new like Achilles people that have gone through injury, being like, yo.
Well, that's exactly.
Can you help me?
But that's exactly it. Like
Mm.
so maybe just for the people listening, like what happened with the injury, and then what I really wanted to ask, and maybe you just said it, was like what I feel like you're going to answer the question differently and maybe
Okay.
go a little deeper into it, but not necessarily like what was your biggest learning outcome
Hmm.
from having that, because I think there's probably a few that you might have takeaways from, but more so, um, like what did you learn to appreciate more was where
Mm.
my head was at.
Right.
And it seems like it's like a zest for life overall, but
Yeah.
I really am
It's definitely a
curious.
zest for
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, like I ruptured my Achilles twice. I re-ruptured it. First time playing basketball, second time during physiotherapy. Um, it was the darkest moments for me to live through. The process in general takes a year and a half to fully recover, and that's just being able to walk. So to say that I ran 5K before the 1 year was up was super impressive because I dedicated a whole year to rehab. So shout out to my wife for taking all that. But yeah, the things that you don't realize you take for granted are just like in front of you, like being able to walk, being able to take a shower standing. Like that was 4 months of sitting on the shower on the floor, having my wife to wipe my foot because I couldn't move it. So the whole process in general, um, don't want to get too deep, but it definitely made me appreciate my life in a perspective that I was taking for granted and wasn't like doing what I should have been doing.
Mm,
Was just living how the
yeah.
life I wanted. It might not sound like taking risks and all that, like jump skydiving or like doing parkour or something. Like it wasn't that of that nature, but like to be able to say like, okay, I'm gonna get back into running, which I wasn't into. I'm gonna do 5K because it's good for my health. Like all those weird things that like it just shifted my whole life has been around like now doing things that make sense for me long term.
Mm, okay. Yeah, I mean, but you've also had a bit of a resilience journey too throughout your life, right? Because you mentioned briefly the speech impediment,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah.
and I almost think, but that was at a super young age, right?
Super young age, yeah. I love the research. You're like, it's like watching Hot Wings, and they're like, "Wow, you really did your research."
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
it's super. Yeah. So that was definitely a hard point in my life as well too. Growing up as a kid and not being able to do public speaking when you had to work with just when the teacher's like, "Oh, can you read that sentence?" I'd be like, "No, it takes me like 30 minutes to read one word
Wow.
because my brain is trying to read two sentences ahead of what's coming out of my mouth." So, turtle talking school for 2 years, which sucked, like making you say a word for like 30 seconds just to sound out. But it's helped me. Like everything, like I said, we've been chatting about. I think your life has a direction for you, and like everything that I've done that was extremely hard is now making, I don't know how to explain this, but like everything that was hard in my life is now super easy. And like it's helping me grow to be a better person and run a business successfully,
Nice.
which is weird to say.
Yeah, yeah. But so I guess directionally then, when you had your sort of moment for the travel across the U.S. and get paid, and okay, this is real, and we're gonna pursue this,
Yeah.
and then taking into consideration kind of these events that obviously transpired, how how risk tolerant do you think you were, or like what's your how would you describe your risk profile with a lot of this? Like were you like, I'm gonna send it, go to the US like next day kind of thing, or were you still weighing options? You're like, I've overcome adversity before, going through the speech thing. Like I'm just trying to connect the dots to
Yeah,
be
I don't
like,
I don't know exactly
you
like
know,
how to explain that like that the life situation. I don't really know like the direction I want to take it, but like I risked a lot, I guess you could say.
yeah,
I also like like I had Bell palsy because I risked so much and overworked myself to shooting weddings on weekends and traveling the US from Monday to Friday and shooting a wedding on Saturday. So like I had a stroke in my face. Like
Wow.
this was like 5 years ago. And I had to learn how to operate my camera on my other eye and shoot. And like shooting weddings where my face was like drooping. Like weird things like that that like I think the whole thing where my journey has gone is appreciating life in general and being able to like appreciate what you have as a skill to benefit your business and your life. So like if that's more time off because you need it, if you're burnt out, then do it. You can always make money. Like you said, like if you follow your passion, money will come literally drop into your lap and be like, "Hey, we want to pay you for what you're doing." And you're like, "Really? Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Are you sure this is like if I'm gonna film karate
Yeah.
or like film people on a piano, like your passions, your two passions. Someone doing karate while playing the piano, like someone's gonna pay you for this thing. Like Guinness Book of World Records, they're gonna be like, "Hey, we want to pay you for these things."
Yeah.
Like all these things. I don't know. It's just I don't think I can answer that properly for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. So then do you take your mindset, like where does your mindset then go into the business world? Because I think, and maybe just share a little bit about what your business is and how you're operating it, and then how I'm gonna call it like a challenger mindset, where you're kind of
Okay.
like you're open to taking on these new sort of unexplored pathways.
Okay.
And just making like extracting the potential out of it. Like,
So I have three sources of incomes with three different businesses. One is my marketing agency, which is called Mossy Media Marketing. We do social media managing, content creation, and strategy. My second one is commercial photography. So I work with just big brands like Fortune 500 brands. That's on its own. And then I do mentorship as well too. So I have a mastermind program called Clarity for Creators. Most of them, I would say actually, out of all of them, my favorite's still Mossy Media right now because 80% of it is outsourced.
okay.
So when I say I love business, I love thinking about business and strategies and giving it to people that can do it better than me and taking 10 steps back, enjoying life and then pursuing something else. So the marketing company has been great because I could outsource it. My employee is extremely happy. My clients are happy. And now I can focus on my passion projects, which you're seeing on Instagram that are now converting to brands reaching out and being like, "Hey, can we do that?" And then I have more free time to understand where the agency side of things are and teach photographers if they want to get in commercial or branding space that I have a background in an agency level, so I can teach you at a higher level than anyone else. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of connecting those three, and they're all lining up perfectly right now with the direction I want to go in the next like 5 to 10 years.
My I guess I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it for you, because you have this like you have this journey of like creativity projects, doing things out of happiness and joy, and like there's a love for making art, and then the business part of it, which is like wedding outreach, wedding delivery, like you weren't, like, correct me if I'm wrong, like you weren't in love with the wedding that you had to do while traveling the US, and then like stressed out with timelines.
I loved both of them. Both of them were great.
Really? You even loved like that stress of...
The stress is what I think like that bottom line stress or the high level stress is what like excites me sometimes.
Okay.
Where I have to look at it in an overall project perspective and say like, how can I disperse this stress to other people and make a strategy so I can keep doing this long term. So the stress comes in of like, you need to travel and you need to do a wedding. Great. I need to be fully prepared for my wedding before I start traveling. So I need to figure out what's happening here before that happens, travel, come back, and it's already done, and I don't have to think about the stress. So my couples were already locked in and ready to go before I got back and being like, cool, Rob, like, hey, what's happening? I was like, hey.
They don't even know what's on the back end.
Didn't know what was on the back. Yeah. They didn't even know I was arriving like 2 hours before their wedding on a plane to be like, hey, I'll be at your wedding. Yeah. So like I was already, that mind shift from years ago has still transitioned to my businesses now to say, how can I think long term of whatever I do and know, I need to write down for someone else to regurgitate what I do really well. So if I'm building a system out for my agency and I'm doing a strategy, I'll build it, I'll record myself building it, talk over it, and send it to whoever I'm sending it to be like, watch this, listen to me, let me know if you have any questions. I want you to do it 10 times better than me now.
So, okay, question one.
Yeah.
How are you okay with that? So my mindset goes, when I talk to a lot of creators, they go, like to the biggest, we're going to veer a little bit off course,
Yeah,
and then
that's
I'm going to
okay.
take this full circle. And this is why I think it's a challenging question. So the first part is when I talk to most creators, they're like, I'm the business, I'm the vision, I'm the whatever, I can't scale, on, right?
Just jibber jabber.
Yeah, in a way, right?
Yeah.
So, but here's, so, you know, when you look at though, like, let's say you're in the 1% of wedding photographers and you're getting flown to Thailand to do some like,
Yeah.
you know, $500,000 wedding or whatever.
Or if
like,
three weddings on a weekend.
3 weddings on a weekend. There's a brand that comes along with that person.
Totally.
So I guess, so how are you okay with the idea of outsourcing that creative vision? Yeah, and how do you see yourself still involved with it to make the client okay?
I still think it goes back to your question of like my creativity still drives my business.
Right.
So like I do the creative things, I'll take the photos, but like here's how I want you to edit the photos.
Okay.
Here's the sample of sample 1, sample 2. I built you the preset. I know exactly what you need to do. Tweak it and send it over to me for adjustments, and then do it and complete it. Send me the photos. I'll send it to the client. It's done. So I can focus on shooting 3 weddings that weekend instead of 1. So I'm really getting, let's just say on a low scale, $9,000 for $3,000 weddings.
Wild, yeah.
And I'm still
Systems.
shooting, and the systems. The systems to
mindset.
me have been always like priority number 1 if I'm looking to scale. So when I listen to someone saying, what are your problems? Brock, where are you falling? Like, oh, I can't edit quick enough. No problem. Let's find an editor. Oh, I don't want to give that up. What you're saying, oh, because that's my style. Cool. Record your style. Get Loom, download the app, record exactly how you want, adding whatever effects in Photoshop, send it to that person, build that relationship. Send it to 5 editors to find that one editor that's going to do exactly what you're looking for.
Right.
And there's, of course, going to be times they're going to be like, this did not hit the mark of how I want this style. But the overall project is complete. I just have to go through it and skim it. And the client will still be happy. I mean, at the end of the day, your clients will look at a photo for 3 seconds. Wow, this is great. This is usable. Thank you very much. Here's your paycheck. So at the end of the day, I think, sure, if you're working for Coca-Cola and they're like, we want 1 image, it's going to be you taking the photo, editing the photo. But long term and scaling, yeah, I think there's a wall for a lot of creators that are like, no, I am the end product. I want to be that person shooting, editing, delivering. Where I think I was surrounded by so many wedding photographers being like, oh, I'm so behind in edits. And like, I have 4 weddings to still edit and I can't live my life in the summer. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks for you.
Yeah.
And like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm outsourcing all of that. I'm paying $200 to $500 to edit all my photos. I'm making $6,000 a wedding. 500 of that goes out. Okay, 5,500 engagement shoot. Great. I can shoot all the weddings I want.
Yeah.
I'll have all the time in the world for my summer. I'll have to work a whole weekend on a Saturday. But like, my life has never been around being so involved in the overall creativity, or I guess you're saying the end product of a creative like project, to go through it all, to do it all. I do not want to be sitting at my desk for 18 hours editing photos.
So do you find any less meaning in
the end product?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, unless like I see a project all the way through and I'll edit it. But I don't have that issue anymore shooting commercials and campaigns.
Right.
Because like I undershoot.
Yeah,
I don't overshoot.
Yeah.
I undershoot. I call within an hour. If I don't call within an hour, it doesn't get done.
Yeah, facts. Yeah.
Pure facts.
Yeah.
Because those photos will never get complete. And then I start to create a preset built off that campaign project and save it as that name, save it long term, so when that client comes back to me, hey, I know the look we're going for, I know what we're doing, this and this and this. So I've always had a system in place for creating Google Docs, finding apps that benefit my life so I can teach it to others to say, I want to give you money. Oh, I can make money doing editing. That moment of like, Rob's giving me money. This is crazy. Like, tell your friends. Like,
Yeah.
and then it built up to being like, so many photographers were reaching out to me, being like, do you need your photos edited? I heard you're paying $200 to $500. I had 6 editors ready to go.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you get this. Yeah.
I had a system. Here's the Google Doc, follow it. If the couple is out of focus, don't use it. Left to right
That's
focus.
simple, yeah.
That's simple. It's really that simple. So when I started to do that process with how I took photos, if I wasn't at the shoot, I want you to shoot the couple like this. I had an example. I want you to shoot the family like this. I want you to use, let's just say an aperture of like 4. F4 if you're shooting more than 8 people. So that I never have to hear a couple saying, my aunt's out of focus on the right. Why is that? Well, I don't know. My photographer didn't follow my instructions right. It came down to it. I had a photographer shoot wide open, and I specifically
F1.4
1.2 1.2 for family photos. And I'm like, are you crazy?
Yeah, you're like, what are you doing?
This couple's gonna print this photo, and every person's face is gonna be completely blurry, and like AI wasn't advanced.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
I learned that really quick to be like, I need to make sure I'm hiring the right people to follow my instructions. I don't care how you can be as creative as you want after you're done the job.
Yeah.
Here's the job outline. Be as creative as you want. I don't care. I don't care. Just get that job done properly. Make sure you have 2 memory cards. Make sure you have all this stuff. I'll give you memory cards. I'll give you a camera body.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm willing to pay you because I know you're gonna get the job done.
So I'm only saying this because you said it, but it's like, okay, you are a Gemini. I'm like, this is like the mindset switch is
Instantly.
nuts.
That's why I'm excited to listen to all this stuff.
Nuts. Like I was not.
You weren't
prepared for that. I was not prepared for that. Well, because I'll give you. You said something where I was like, oh, I talked to Chunger about that, and I'm trying to remember what exactly that moment was, but it was so relevant to what you were saying. Oh, I remember now because I had this conversation with another photographer as well. But it's the idea of like who's responsible for the output.
Okay.
So video, photo, food on a dish in a restaurant, like across all mediums. You know, in a kitchen, like you have a whole team of people making the salmon with rice and broccoli, like a basic dish, or it could be some crazy Michelin star meal too. But for some reason, right, the chef who owns the restaurant gets the credit for the dish, even though the team put it together, right? So the conversation I was having with Chunger is he went to Bali, and he says, you know, we had some people shooting photos, we had some people doing video, and what was sick is we all put it into the drive at the end, and we all had access to everything. And
Oh,
it was
cool.
Awesome, yeah. And we all
That's a different concept.
It's a very different concept, and he says, you know, and it didn't matter to me. You know, he talked about his trip to Iceland with Daniel. I'm forgetting now.
Yeah.
Who else was
I know
on
you're
that
talking
trip.
about. Yeah.
And they were just like, you know, it was sick because like we'd get somebody to stand in the middle of the black beach, and we'd all have a different idea about how he was supposed to stand, but someone would shoot the photo and someone would direct. And it was just this whole thing for me because there's such a me mentality in the space. And with what you're saying, there's like 3 things I think that are takeaways for creators in what you just said. One is it's a team mentality largely, right? Somebody has the vision. And I know this across the board where even Instagrammers with a team of people who take their photos and videos for their profiles have people under them, and they weren't even shooting their own photos anymore, right? So there's that. The second one is the business is like, we have a deliverable. We're here to shoot for a watch company.
Right. We're getting paid. There's a payee, someone's paying your paycheck, and then someone needs to deliver that to make sure we're looking good and we get paid.
Yeah, full stop. Like, and then the other one is there's always room for creativity, but do it outside of...
Do it outside of the scope. Like, if this is the scope of work, it was tough for that. That was specifically what you just mentioned was a tough part of wedding photographers being like, oh, you're hiring me, so I'm being as creative as possible. It's like, but my system's not like that. I want you to be as creative as possible, but I need these 50 photos to be delivered. I need grandparent photos, like going back to wedding stuff, obviously. I need those specifics. And it was cool because like the ones that got it understood, like, here are those specifics, because those were my sneak peeks. And I knew that client was like, oh man, this is sick. Like, we hired the right guy.
Right.
Which is going to get me 10 other weddings next year. Right? So, like, yeah, it does go through those three systems, what you just said. Like, someone's paying your bill. You have to pay your bill. And then at the end of the day, you have to deliver something that's going to grow your business.
Facts.
Those three, like, that is,
Yeah.
it is crucial.
Yeah.
Like, what you said at the beginning was like, there's a leader of creative that's running it. The first
vision.
one, the vision. That's your payee. That is like your client that you might not never meet. And they're going to be like, we're just going to pay your bill. And then the second part, the me factor of like, we all get this, me. It's not you. You're still doing a job for someone else. So as much as you'd like to say and promote yourself on social to be like, it was me that did this. No, that client was you paying you to do that for them. But you just you were there.
Right. Yeah, you showed up.
You showed up. It's a hard perspective to think about though,
it is.
because like you're the director of someone else's content.
Yeah.
The content you shoot at the end of the day for commercial space or branding is never for you.
Yeah.
Unless you're pitching that concept, but they're paying your bill.
Yeah, even then you still can't you have to do it, yeah.
Your deliverables on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like so to say, going back to all those questions of like, how did you build that? It came to systems that worked for my clients at the time. They wanted this, I delivered that, I got more clients.
Yeah.
That's how it works. That's if you go out of the scope of work and be like, oh, I did this crazy thing, and you don't get your photo of what you needed. All right, Rob, we'll find someone else that has a camera. Mm-hmm. Like, that's pretty much how it turned out to be.
Have you, what's been the hardest client situation where you've missed a deliverable? Do you have like a wild story? I mean, we've all been there.
Wedding, for sure. I had it booked for a Saturday. Their wedding was on a Friday.
Oh no.
And I was cruising around.
The
being
US.
Like, I had a vacation day on a Friday.
no.
So he called me, the groom was like, hey, we're going down the aisle. Where are you? And I was like, why didn't you call me in the morning? And they're like, where are you? I was like, it's in my calendar and your email is on my Saturday. And they're like,
They sent you the email and they put it on the wrong date?
yeah.
Wow, that sucks.
So I literally called my like videographer buddy being like, dude, my career is fucked. It's over. It's game over. I might as well start something else. Might as well go into accounting or something. Like, might as well throw my cameras out. Called my wife, like crying, being like, this is it. I have 20 weddings after this. They're all going to cancel and bail on me. I lost my income. So
Is it that small of a world?
for what, the wedding industry?
Yeah, like when something
I just
like
think
that-
like someone would complain and make like a Facebook review and be like, Rob didn't show up to our wedding, like don't hire him. My brain instantly goes to the worst thing, right?
Like,
those stages
yeah, I
of
mean,
life
it's
to be
not-
like, what's the
yeah.
worst case scenario? I'm done.
Right.
I'm not a photographer anymore.
I'm a fake photographer. I missed the
I'm
wedding.
bailed. I think it was someone else, like a photographer or something, went viral because they forgot their wedding or didn't. No, they stopped shooting because they didn't get a meal or something, and that
Okay.
was like the week before.
I
So
remember this.
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get canceled or something weird. But I showed up at their wedding at nighttime. I was like, listen, I'll give you all your money back. I shot the wedding. Their young cousin had a point and shoot camera. I edited all those photos. And then they were like, we still love them. And like, we should have like checked up on you. But I think that moment for sure was like,
Wow.
oh, I'm canceled.
Wow.
I'm fucked.
Yeah.
My career's over. I'll never live that down. So everything lives after that day. In my calendar, a follow-up the day before, or a call before the actual shoot day. Everything's scheduled, good. Everything's in there, good. Like, that's how I think my systems were built even stronger after that day, being like, oh, I don't want this to ever happen again. I don't want to be traveling the world and not being out at this person's wedding, or like, that's a moment of your life, being like the photographer, most important probably person of the day to capture the wedding,
Yeah.
didn't show up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I almost, I've never done weddings. Like, I've never shot a wedding. I've always thought of. I've always had this like romantic idea in my head of like I'd be so good at it.
You should do one.
I know.
You should just do one.
Right?
Just be like, yo, I'm doing it for free.
Yeah, just
super
like,
creative.
yeah.
I need to do it in Utah though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
on the salt flats with dirt bikes behind you guys. But I'll do it for free.
I'll do it for free. Yeah, it's got to be my way. I'm like, no, but I don't know. I listened to like one interview of a wedding photographer, and he was just talking about how he scaled his business, and he has like the people under him. And
was it Taylor Jackson?
I want to say that no, not Taylor Jackson. No, this is a different guy.
That's who inspired me a lot for business.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a very business minded.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, what he's been able to do too. I still get his emails. I don't open them, but I'm just
Taylor's
still sending
it's
wedding
wild.
photographer emails.
And he's from Ontario. Well, yeah, Ontario,
he's
Canada.
Canadian?
Yeah, Ontario, Canada. Shoots like 70 weddings a year.
Wow.
I was so impressed. Yeah. And he was like, I outsource everything. In that moment, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's a thing?
Yeah.
You can't shoot 70 weddings a year and edit and make. He was saying numbers too. He was saying facts of I made like 400,000. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I need to charge more.
Yeah, no shit. Eh? I got a TikTok from him recently, and I was just like, oh, he's still around. I'm like, the dude's just nimble.
Mastermind programs.
Yeah, he's like rep by Sony now. But no, it was just a different guy, and I was always enamored. I realized I was more interested in like the brand of the wedding studio than actually like shooting the stuff.
Right.
You know, I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to like have this wedding studio that does it like this, and you have a team, and it just everybody kind of moves together. Like I forget who owns Mint Room now in Toronto.
Yeah. They do a great job, man.
Yeah, like,
they do such a great job,
or
like outsourcing.
Tree. Yeah, like
and like no one questions you.
They're dialed in, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I never went down that path. The question I had for you was the systems mentality then for growing this wedding business basically at the time, and kind of how you said you're driving around the U.S. at one point, flying in, doing, and you're okay with taking on more because you're like, oh, my systems will figure it out basically. Did you knowingly say yes to stuff to be able to figure it out, or was it just desire for money and I'll just figure it out?
Oh, I think money too, though. Yeah. It was a cool, like the wedding industry I was in it for 5 years. So at the third, or I think it was like the second or third year, it was really where I was like, if it doesn't fit my style, I'm not going to pick it. So I had interviews before I even said yes to them.
Gotcha.
Which was a weird concept for wedding photographers, being like, you interview your couples? Like, you don't just say yes on the spot? I was like, no, I want to make sure like they're going to pop champagne and like get drunk and like go down on a knee and like crush a beer and like do some wild stuff because that was my style. I was like, if I can't crush beers with you at your wedding, I don't want you. But it kind of went twofolds of like, yes, it was for money of like a couple having a beautiful venue and paying $6,500 or whatever it was. Like to be like, we want Rob there for his style and whatever. But yeah, it kind of went hand in hand. Really, yeah, simple way of doing things.
Yeah, I just always there's like a lot of talk lately about kind of that like self-induced pressure, and I think as creators, like obviously it's easy to get trapped in like that more kind of mindset.
Right.
Oh, I'm not doing enough.
more.
Yeah,
not doing enough. Take on 6 more weddings.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't realize that until you get a burnout. I think burnout is very real, and it happens like more than you think.
Yeah.
Even in different ways that you don't think that are happening, where you're like, I'm not creative anymore. I don't know why. I'm like, it's probably a lot of things. Your health, for one.
Okay.
Like eating, working out, taking a break.
Really? Like lifestyle you think is the biggest reason for so creative burnout versus actual burnout. Is there a difference? And is creative burnout on the way to burnout?
Wow. I didn't even think of that to be a thing, like creative burnout compared to like real burnout.
Have you ever, now that I said it, do you think there's a link?
I think it's just burnout.
Really, eh?
I've never experienced maybe creative burnout. Like
this is why I think creative burnout's on the way to burnout. Like this is what my theory's been, because people will be like, how do I get over
like concepts and stuff? Like what do you what is defined as creative burnout?
So I'll tell you what's been
I'll like come back with some like rebuttals like okay,
explain this idea. No, because people will message me and they're like, how do you deal with creative burnout? Because my thing has always been I go like up until I'm going to say the last year, kind of like I told you, like in the last year, I've been on a very, very much an introspective journey about what do I want to make.
Right.
So, but up until this point, I've been like 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I'm downtown Toronto. I'm shooting street photography. Period. End of story. Full stop. Like that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's in my system.
Yeah, and so it was like my life was oriented so that I had 2 hours to be able to shoot that in those instances.
Right.
And so people would come up to me and they'd be like, how do you deal with creative burnout? And I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just, at the time, right, I was just so like agnostic to that idea. I was like, you should shoot more, like naive, right? If you're suffering from not having enough ideas,
I just thought of that. You're telling people, be like, bro, just shoot
more. Like,
it'll go away.
Isn't that crazy, right? I was like, just go shoot more. Like, I had no idea what I was talking about, right? But that was my thing. I'm like, oh, on days where I don't have ideas, if I put myself in a situation where I'm able to create new ideas, it'll go away. That was my...
But is okay, so in just putting in front of burnout was creative. Do you think that just came out of like the YouTube scene to be like only the creative people, the creators are talking about on YouTube and be like creative burnout when it should just been like burnout.
Burnout, full stop. Well,
burnout.
So this was where I started like thinking about this, where I was like, what does it actually mean? And the first one was, okay, for a YouTuber, I get it. For an Instagram person, I don't understand it. For a YouTuber, I'm like, okay, cool. You know, you're putting out, like, let's say you're not doing daily vlogs, but you're doing like 3-4 videos a week. And
scripting, location, camera gear,
now
filming,
what?
editing.
Yeah, and you have to make it all good, and you have a life, and there's only so many things you can do in your town, and right. There's all these excuses that you can start layering on to then come to the conclusion, I'm out of creative ideas, and then it goes, now I'm upset, and I can't like continue on because I'm burnt out, and that was what I think the definition of creator burnout or creative burnout was. Because it's transferable again to like those other sort of avenues where in COVID, you're the musician in the bedroom playing how many melodies for your TikTok audience every single day, trying to come up with stuff with no new inspiration or no way to feed that.
But I'm seeing it from, it's just burnout in general still, because if it wasn't, you should take a day off, one time slot of your day. If you do an 8-hour day, a 4-hour day, whatever yours is. Mine is a 4-hour day. That's all I got in me to be as creative as possible. 1 hour of it or an hour and a half of it is at the gym. 15 to 20 minutes is meditating. After that, it's game time to be like client meetings, creativity, creating spec ads, doing something. But like, I didn't think of creative burnout. I don't think I've experienced creative burnout because I don't know. It just to me was burnout. Was like Bell palsy, burnt out. Not creative because I was shooting weddings and shooting like camping scenes that were already set for me to arrive and shoot. I wasn't getting creative.
I'm so okay. This is that what you just said was what I was trying to get at like 5 questions ago. But I didn't want to I didn't want to put it in your, I didn't want to like impose my thought on you.
Yeah.
But cool. So, but that's, so this is where I'm going, like, how did the creative feed into your business? Because the avenues of the photography that you've chosen to pursue in a way are prescribed in a lot of instances. So
like the wedding scene in general, it's already there. It's played out. You have a timeline. This is where you got to be. You got to be outdoorsy. Was here's the scene. Here's the setup. Shoot this shot. Do all this. Yeah.
So how does overdoing that then as an activity, in your opinion, lead to burnout? Or like in your experience as well?
I just think it goes back to the same thing of like, the burnout happened because I didn't have a team or a strategy built out for long term to say like, I don't want to sit down on my computer. That was burning me out probably. Maybe the creative burnout was coming from editing, let's just say, until I was factoring in, wow, I'm spending 8 hours like editing the same photos over and over. And at that time I was like, I could be outsourcing that.
Yeah.
But you don't realize. See, that's the thing. Maybe the creative came from editing for sure, because I was shooting the things that were already set up for me, so I didn't have to think or overthink about anything else. But to put in your perspective, I think we're brainwashed to think that it's creative burnout when it's just burnout in general because we're humans and we have a lifespan of like this is how much energy you can dedicate to that craft, whether that be accounting, whether that be cleaning homes, whether that people need vacation time. That's the reason why they called it vacation time, like to get away from work, to unplug and log off and like do all things. That's why camping got so big as well too. Is like, oh, I'm in Algonquin, I don't get service. Ah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's the
I don't
best
have to
thing
get to
ever.
any emails.
Yeah.
Like that's why we went to Algonquin every year. But yeah, if I think there is a reason to believe like creative burnout could happen if you're constantly thinking of concepts, thinking of doing this, filming this, editing this, and taking no time for yourself, which it's always the case. Every creator wants to grow quickly, rapidly, really fast, and they don't think about the consequences until it's too late, and then burnout happens, and you're like, oh shit, maybe I should go back to eating right, doing some workouts, doing meditating, like reading a book, like all those things that we didn't realize how important they were during a pandemic, specifically to be like, you should go outside and walk. And people were like, what? That's a thing? I thought I was supposed to work for 18 hours. Like,
Maddening to me.
yeah. Does that answer kind of the
That
question
does,
of just like,
absolutely, yeah.
I would love to know your opinion of like where you stand with creative burnout still with burnout. Have you ever experienced it and what side of have you experienced?
I'm just checking batteries here. 38%. No, we're good. So I've had a very interesting.
Because you're into fitness, you're into eating well, so you understand the importance of it without thinking about it, right? You're like, I want to do something for my brain power as well.
My relationship with creative burnout has been. I have like a weird thing where I just never feel like I'm actually working.
You enjoy it so much.
No, I just.
Or you just have a system in place? Explain that a
Yeah,
little bit.
I know.
Maybe.
This is
then people are gonna be like, "Yo, what's your ticket?"
Yeah.
Create a course about it because I'll sign up for it.
I just that's so you made sense in like maybe like a different way of like how it could be interpreted. My friend, I've talked to one friend about this, but like I'll end a day and go, oh, I messed up my 1 to 2 o'clock. I could have fit in more. Today didn't go the way I wanted to. I could have like done that better. Like I could have done this. Like so I've gotten better about this. Like I'm not really like this anymore because I've learned. Like I keep saying, like the last year for me has been very formative in a lot of ways. But that sort of thought process started last year, May, June. And so why I say like I didn't really think that I was working is because I would just basically start piling on as much as I could to basically be like, okay, how's this going to work out? And,
Right.
With my editor, I recently shared a story with him, and I hadn't shared this story with anybody, and I realized how insane this actually was that I did this. But before I had hired him, I was posting on Instagram every single day, street photography, tutorials, tips, tricks, whatever. Still trying to grow the TikTok. I was trying to pivot. I'm managing three different agency contracts, and I had 2 individual clients that I was working with. Plus, I was starting a YouTube channel.
Jeez.
And I'm going to the gym 5 times a week. I'm running probably 40, 50 kilometers a week. Like I'm piling this like insane workload on. Yeah. I never got to a burnout point, but I have a very high standard of stamina. I'm not proud of it, but I just innately can push myself to an extreme and feel fine. Like I don't.
You've never got sick? Have you ever experienced like?
I've never had an issue with any of this. And the thing is though, is,
I don't wish it on you
No,
at
I
all,
know.
but take care.
no, I know.
all those
But
things.
so the thing is I had my learning moment though.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Like I understand that this was crazy, and so I had my learning moment where I basically was like, I'm stretching myself too thin. I'm not using my time correctly. And this goes to the creative burnout versus actual burnout because. Essentially, I was putting out a YouTube video every single week on top of all of this. And the YouTube videos were okay. And the funny part is they actually got views. Like they were doing fairly well for what they were, like 500 plus, I'm gonna say. Which I was like angry about at the time. Like I was just like, they need to be doing better. I need to put more time into this, blah, 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 right? And then this like end of September, early October period came, and I was like, okay, I have to step these videos up. I'm like, I'm gonna fly somewhere every single weekend. I'm gonna like do all these concepts. Like I'm gonna go nuts. So one like at the third week of September 2022, I went to Montreal for a weekend trip. I left on the Friday night, drove to Montreal, shot 2 YouTube videos on the Saturday. Sunday morning, this is insane. Sunday morning, woke up at like 4 a.m., drove home, was at my desk editing the YouTube videos at 9 a.m.
Oof.
Because I had to, because if I didn't finish those videos on the Sunday, my whole week was behind. That's how insane it was. But to me, I was just like, this is what it takes, right? And then now I'm getting to the pinnacle of like this burnout moment. Then second week of October, Friday night, fly to Banff, shoot a YouTube video for the iPhone 14 Pro review, spend the whole weekend in Banff. My sister at the time had offered to help me film the video. She came with me. We flew back on the Sunday night because I had to work on the Monday morning. And we landed, the plane landed, she looked at me and she's like, I'm never doing that again with you. She's like,
oh, because she was tired?
Because she was like, that was insane. And I was like, I sat there for a moment and I'm just like, this is what it takes, like mindset, go, right? But after that trip, my photography just fell right through the my pride in my work. Well, this is what I realized is all of a sudden, like I had
out of those sequences though, I want to go back to just burnout. Did you put in any like exercise or eating habits?
I was doing all of it.
Shit, eh?
Counting macros,
going to like Montreal and like,
oh yeah, I didn't miss a day.
Holy
like
shit.
I would adjust my schedule to accommodate this. Like I was like, I'm like, it was nuts. I'm telling you, like I was so regimented. The reason why I was able to do it was because my social life was near zero. And I like my friends have a joke that like I went ghost for like 6 months basically because I was just so dialed into this idea that like I could just push through and it was going to work. And the crazy part was it did work. And I turned it off though. Like I purposefully like was just like, it worked, but this has to stop. And it was like, it just taught me so much where I was just like, there's like that triangle, right? And it's like, you can only have 2 and it's like business, social, health. And it's like pick, right? And I was full tilt like business and health. Like, but social was like nothing.
If you've read The One Thing by Jeff Walker,
no.
He just talks about doing one thing a day. Okay. One thing that's super important to you. And that mentality of what you're saying, like if that one thing is filming one YouTube video, everything else doesn't matter. So if you're putting in the gym, you're doing this, you're eating healthy, if you just get it done, whenever you get it done, it's all matters.
Yeah.
So like if I want to ask you a question though, throughout your days, how many tasks are you giving yourself?
Now
and you being pissed
3.
of okay 3, that's amazing. Me too.
Now, yeah.
It's so easy to do, and then you're like, oh, I can fit in so much more.
Yeah, but I learned that from Christian Guzman, the owner of Alphalete, because he obviously is like a crazy person from my understanding of like what his work ethic is. But he's like, I have a rule of 3. You can get you have a big 3 every single day. Like that's what you do. And I was just like, okay, if that's his rule, I need to learn how to do that.
Right. I know from my experience, even with, let's just, so Jen Young, literally the person that hired me, go back to her because she is an absolute animal with business. She would do so many things in a day. Like she would wake up at 5 a.m., send out 60 emails, then like text me at like 12 at night to be like, hey, did you get that thing? And I was like, no, it's not due until Thursday. And like all these things where then you do the personality test, and I think you should do it because you should find out what scale you are on how much you can accomplish, or multitasking, which you're probably a very good multitasker. Her scale was like If
the
it was
charts.
0 to 100, she was like 90.
Wow.
And I was at like 70 or like 65. That's like the tipping scale of like the personality test, or I forget what the test is called, but it tests how much you can do multitasking and do it well and efficiently.
Interesting.
And she was like unheard of stats.
Wow.
Like, so I wonder if you like fit that scale of like, I can keep going until a point where like my body will shut down, but what it sounds like is like your brain capacity can fit so much in a day that you can just keep going and keep doing the things, and it doesn't feel like anything because you're probably wired like that too, though. Like if you did the test, you'd probably be a 90, right? Where like the things you're doing now though are probably so efficient though.
That's like yeah, like he's gonna laugh when he edits this, but he's gonna be like we've made shorts, right? And some of the shorts were my editor, right? The shorts were like dead simple. Like,
Yeah.
I had gotten the shorts, the cuts to the shorts, right? I got it down to
Like to the period and the
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Out the door, right? Because I just knew if I didn't do it in 20 minutes,
Something was wrong.
No, like something else would be forgotten.
Right.
Another client's like photo edits, or like I wouldn't be able to fit it in, right? So I had to develop this like way of doing things to just make it work. But yeah, it's like, I guess maybe just quickly on me before you is like, so you know, I'm not like I tell those stories and some people are just like, you're crazy. And I'm just like, I don't know, but like.
But you're built different and that's okay. Yeah. I think that's when someone's like, hey, I'm burnt out. What do? You're like, the right answer would be like, I don't know, because I'm built, not to say it, and people would be like, well, I don't get what you're saying. But like, it's okay to say like, I'm built totally different. Yeah. Like I'm not built that way at all, at all.
So my what I'm very interested in though is what then allows somebody. So I would really love to know your aspirations then, because my head goes with like the Peter McKinnons of the world. Like he's got a great work ethic, I'm sure, but he's not doing at all what I did, right? And he was able to take it to whatever degree, right?
4 million, whatever.
Yeah, and then there's other business owners that maybe, because like I think about it with the person who only works 4 hours a day, this is the whole premise of the 4-hour work week, is they develop the systems in place. They don't need to be on the business.
No, right? They don't need to be in the business
Zach
at all.
Zach Kravitz, I don't know if you've seen him on Instagram. He was a videographer as well at one point, like doing the whole thing, literally like what we're up to. And now he's building like a bag company, like a duffel bag company. Sweet. Yeah, but he does mastermind coaching to basically say like, the way I was able to grow my videography business was I now only work 4 hours a day. And I tell myself it's 4 hours a day. That's all I need. And look at all the things that I've done, 7 figures, blah, 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 blah. I get it. But at the same time, the idea is out there that, and I've been trying to, and over the last year, this has been my biggest takeaway, is like, just because you're doing everything to every single minute doesn't actually mean it's the best use of your time. And so it's always like, what's the impact that you're able to provide?
Yeah, right? What's the overall goal of like your impact?
The question is basically like, it's too broad of a question to ask, but it's how do you measure success? And the other side of that is, well, how do you measure success? Because what are you striving for? Is it a good life where you just need to work?
Retirement at 48.
Okay.
That's my end goal. Okay. Yeah, that is like not the end goal. I shouldn't say that, because there is no like end goal for me. But my wife and I both sat down and being like, how long do we want to work and grind for? And we're both like, 48 sounds right. 48 sounds like we can travel. If we have a kid and we can do something, we can do all that. So we're 32. I'm 32. She's 33. And, we're pursuing what the future looks like. So what does that look like? If we don't work, we have to invest in property. We have to do this. We have to get different sources of income now. So now my brain power is meeting the right people to understand what they did to successfully retire at 48. Because a lot of people are like, well, 60 is Canada's like thing. Like, you're living. I was like, no, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be working. And I think that's what it comes down to as my business grows, is like, I don't want to be working. I want to own the business, run the business, successfully do it, have people that love what they do and give them that opportunity to do it. But it's not my end goal to be in my business 24/7, 7 days a week. So like you said, 4 hours, yeah, I'm capped. I'm capped answering emails, giving out tasks, writing out strategy, doing some content creation. But like, other than that, I'm just burning myself out. Then I'll have no energy to help people do what they need to do for my business. Right? If I can't help you to be like, Brock, I need you to do this, they're not going to know what to do.
Right.
And the people I don't have any celebrities I really realistically look up to, because I don't understand, or sometimes they hold back on how successful they are and they're already retired at 32 or whatever. But like, my friends or the group of people that are in my circle, like for sure my wife is definitely like, she's growing an empire right now. And I'm like, yo, I'm so supporting you. Whatever you do, I'll quit and like help you out. That's how much I see her business booming to like, you're going to be retired way sooner than 48 or whatever that number is. So to me, it's just the people I surround myself. Like, man, look up to whoever. Like what you're doing right now, I'm like, dude, like you're doing so much for the world and for people listening. You don't even know it. Of like the 500 people that are viewing your video, you're inspiring them to live whatever you're doing right now, which I'm stoked for. Matt Chung, like whatever he's doing a workshop in a different country. I'm like, dude, I'm like, I'm living for that. Like Stefano, just an example of like landing Sigma Canada. I'm like, dude, I'm so pumped for you. You're inspiring me to do something. I'm living for other people's moments right now that are telling the story of like, wow, like I'm loving what you're doing for other people. I think there's a difference between like looking up to someone and being like, I want to be that person or do that thing, and looking up to people around you to be like, I'm supporting you in a way that like, I want you to do well. If you need help, I'm here for you whenever you need. And that to me is like a bigger scope of like where my life is going.
Yeah. I feel like we need that energy. That's that introspective piece of it too, I think, where you're comfortable enough with, not even comfortable, but it's like you're just self-aware enough to accept like what you are, right? And you're just on your journey, doing what you're gonna do, right? And
trying to just be better than last year. At the end of the day, that's how I'm looking at it right now. Being like, I couldn't walk last year. I'm walking now. I'm hiking. Like I'm climbing. Like it's one way to look at life really simply, is just like, what did I do last year? Can I be a little bit better?
Yeah. Nice.
That's as easy as I want to be. If you're doing this, like, are you going to be interviewing like Peter McKinnon next year?
He doesn't like podcasts.
Well, I don't care what it is, but like that's the perspective I kind of look at. Like, where's Brock going in the next like year? Like, what are you doing? And I'm rooting for you. Like,
appreciate that.
Rooting for anyone that I meet that gets a little bit closer to knowing who I am, because I'll give that effort and that energy back to them to be like, thank you for just talking with me. Like, you'll get energy from me, I swear, and you'll get something out of it in the next like 30 minutes that we chat. But like, I'll support you if we're friends. Like, pretty much, yeah.
Love that. So have you had any advice then for the creator kind of starting out, whether it's photographer, videographer, even for other niches? Like, what would you say that might be experiencing self-doubt about getting on that path? Like, what would be your kind of word of wisdom?
Word of wisdom, I would say just follow your passion. Like, I'm sure you'll hear that from so many people on this, but that are in my position or other positions or higher up or whatever. It will come. I know it's hard to say and listen to. And like, sometimes you got to fight those like demons inside you that are saying like, you can't do it, you suck, like your photos suck, they got 15 likes. Like, who cares? Who gives a shit? If you're happy doing what you're doing, there will be a time when it will make sense to you. And that moment that I had, and that everyone I hope gets to feel, is that moment of like, I worked so long for that moment and I deserve it. And I think that's a part where you need to appreciate where you're at and what you're doing, whether that be you're super young and just starting out, or you're done your career and you're retiring at 48. I built that life. I did all that work. I grinded. I got Bell palsy. I ruptured my Achilles twice. I had a started from like whatever those roadblocks are in your life. I think just keep doing it, even if it doesn't make sense. And for all of this, find people that you can connect with, keep in touch with them, reach out to them, because conversations will help you grow in so many different areas. I don't know if that's good. Is that
Of course that's good.
like-
Mic drop. What are you saying? I was just like, this is amazing. Like, we're going to clip that right there. It's like,
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
yeah. Like, have you met Ryan Josie? He's this newer creator that's kind of shown up recently.
I'm so bad with names. Like I can't even listen to 3 questions you asked me without
right?
like being like, who? Sorry. I hope I follow them because like they're probably doing sick work and I hope to meet them and like meet them on a creator event. But like my brain capacity, you know this, or as you're speaking to me right now, goes a mile a minute. So like a name you spit out,
I'll show you his Instagram
yeah,
afterwards,
after
yes.
this, you'll just be like, KO, and then I'll reach out to him and be like, yo, your work is sick. Like, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, literally. But he's a good example of somebody that's like blind faith. This is going to work. One thing I really like about what he's up to is a very community driven approach to social media and kind of the photography piece. So he would find what you just said. I think with what you just said, I was like imagining him being like, this is valuable. But just on that community piece was you have a huge community aspect. And this is something that I want to kind of highlight for you is like, how important is it, especially if you're talking to like a younger creator, to invite them into the community? And how valuable do you feel it is for new photographers
Growth or anything?
Yeah.
I think for sure you underestimate, for one, how big a community can help you grow and how fast it can help you grow. Just connecting with the right people in seconds, you'd be like, wow, you can get that aspect of motivation, inspiration, and execution if you listen to the right people. So I think I didn't realize how big community was until I was building a brand when I was injured, let's just say, and how important it is for the people that are speaking, commenting, reaching out, how important that was until after the fact of they built my business. They helped my business. They helped my motivation. They helped those demons that were inside of me be like, you suck, you're shit. Like, give up. To them being like, this is awesome. This is inspiring me. This is wicked. Even if it's a flame emoji, I know it's serious. Like all those things. I think as a young photographer, it's hard to find a community because there will always be people that you're trying to compete with, even though you're your best friends and you're shooting with them, because they might be spending 18 hours grinding away that you don't see, and they're developing their skills really quickly. So to me, I think a community is super important. Get out there as much as you can and go out of your comfort zone, because that's the only way you'll grow as well. The community should be open to speaking about everything, even though it might sound like it's very empty and we're just trolls on an online platform just talking to each other, which we've spoken about being like, we need to connect over a campfire without cameras and like understand who we are and how well diverse we are as humans to begin with. But it can be scary to be in a community full of really good, talented people when you don't think you are that talent, and finding the right connection to be like, I want to connect with you because you're doing cool stuff and you're popping up on Instagram stories and you're speaking about a story that I can connect with. So yeah, I would say join any event, join the free events as much as you can. Connect with the right people, connect with people in your area. Just go out there and put your foot forward, I guess I should say. Like, yeah.
What? Because I know you're up to some cool things. What's some community driven events that you're trying to establish right now? Because I think people need to know. You don't want to.
No.
I mean, you can choose one of them.
Yeah.
You put it on your stories.
I have a community event right now going with Sigma Canada. That's around branding. And we are launching another one for a bigger community for 50 people to attend. We're planning that out right now in the planning sessions with my team. It takes a team to do it. But it's super exciting. And there is a lot of things in the pipeline right now for Sigma. So if anyone's watching, like, there's a lot of things. Communicate online if you have questions as well. I'll be the ones looking at most of it and my team as well too. But It is a cool creator event that's going to be happening in September.
Nice.
So I'm super stoked for that. And then a few other ones that I'll be running either in Utah or in BC. That is the plan. As we were chatting about that, is to build more of a base around education on giving the right education to the right people that want to learn, that want to execute, that want to explore new options in their business and don't see that side of things. So yeah, I'm here for it and I'm excited.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we